Shalom, brothers and sisters. This is Yahuda ben Israel. And of course, this is part 2 of Hebrew Israelites are for profit. We love to make money. Make money. Part 2. And of course, I want to say, remember, not just the missing amongst our people, but the widows and the orphans as well. And I want to say something about the widows and the orphans as it pertains to what the name of this video is, about us being for profit. What you're going to learn is that we have a system that provides opportunity for success. I mean, that's really what we do. That's really what we're about, providing opportunities for success. And that includes widows and that includes orphans. We really don't believe, and we're not fans of, and what you'll learn as you go through this series of videos, we're not fans of things like welfare. We just aren't. We're not fans of things like food stamps. We just aren't, not long term. We believe in helping brothers and sisters, but we also believe that brothers and sisters should be able to get out and be profitable. If that means just laboring and making a check, earning a paycheck, fine. If that means having a business, fine. But we believe brothers and sisters need to get out and just be profitable in everything they do and get out and earn a living. And be given the opportunity to do that. And that includes widows and that includes orphans. But I want to go ahead and start at Genesis 1:27 through 28. And it is verse 27, Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. So Yah created man in his own image. In the image of Yah created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Now the key word there is replenish. And I'm going to read it again in Genesis 9:1. And it says, and Yah blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Now I read that because, again, the key word is replenish. A lot of brothers and sisters think that just means have a lot of babies. No, it means actually replenish the earth. That means when you tear down a forest, in order to build a city, you need to be replanting some trees. It means do not fish all the fish out the ocean. It means do not go and, kill off all the animals, that are in the land. We replenish the earth. We don't destroy our inheritance. We don't destroy the earth. We replenish it. And that's why I'm glad I've already uploaded a video, teaching that, using the scriptures, teaching that we practice science and mathematics, because that's what we do. So that means we have to, and it's a profound statement actually, because it means that we're supposed to know the animals, the plants, insects, it doesn't matter. We're supposed to know the earth and everything on it. We're supposed to understand this earth and everything on it, because that's the only way that you can replenish it, is to be able to do those things, is to understand them. But you can go check that video out. Hebrew Israelites practice science and mathematics, because we do. We have to. We have no choice. But how this applies to our economic system is that means that we can't get out here and make money just to be making money and destroying the earth at the same time. We're not allowed to do it. And I know most of us are taught that the nations are destroying our inheritance, but they're just dumb when it comes to this. I mean, let's be honest. They're just now figuring out how important it is to replenish the earth. They've had no clue for a very long time how important that is, and it's to the point now where they pretty much destroyed it. When they go on TV, when you see it on mainstream TV, that hey, in a few more years the air's gonna be too dirty to breathe, and there's no more fresh water. They're dumb. I don't mean no harm. I'm not trying to, beat up on, any of those other nations out there, but I mean, honestly, it's just dumb, and we're not allowed to be that dumb, from day one, just about. What was that, day 5, day 6? Right, we're not allowed to be that dumb. We have to replenish the earth. That's what we have to do. Even though we are profitable and we make our money, we don't destroy our inheritance. I just wanted to make sure that I put that out there, and I say that first and foremost, so brothers and sisters don't get carried away with certain things. Also, yeah, we deal with gold and silver, our metals. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later, probably in part 3. but it's not one of the most. It's not how we grow our income, though. You know, it's just a tool, the gold and the silver, and also that goes with what I talked about in part 1, and that money moves from one nation to the next. It always has throughout history. But in our case, we could turn it into gold. We could turn cash into gold and silver, or that's what we accept. It's just, excuse me, it's just gold and silver from the other nations when they want to basically invest in our nation. You know, that we'll take gold and we'll take silver. Now I want to move on to, those are just a few things that I want to get out of the way. But I'm going to move on to Deuteronomy 23, and that's verse 19 through 20. That's Deuteronomy 23 and verse 19 through 20. Verse 19, thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Verse 20, unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Adonai thy Elohim may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to in the land whether thou goest to possess it. And I'm going to go to Exodus 22 and verse 25, where it basically says the same thing, but it adds in the part. I'm going to read it. That's Exodus 22 and verse 25. And it says, if thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. Okay. Now, that's one of those scriptures. Two of those scriptures are scriptures that confuse a lot of brothers and sisters because they wonder, well, how can we grow our economy? But here's what I want you to do for this whole video. Basically, this is not the way that we raise large amounts of money. Okay, it's just not. We have other ways that we raise large amounts of money, or that we expand our money supply. We just don't do it with usury. Okay, we don't expand our money supply, and we don't raise a lot of money using usury. That's just not what we do. We have other ways of doing that. I'm going to read another scripture to help reinforce that and help you to understand that what we do when it comes to the small amounts of money, it's just give out like basically short-term loans. And that's Deuteronomy 15 and 1 through 11. And I'm going to read the whole thing, and then I'm going to go through it scripture by scripture. But again, understand, this is not how we raise large amounts of money. We have other ways of raising large amounts of money, and that's going to be in part 3. But you need to understand the basics first, okay? So Deuteronomy chapter 15, 1 through 11. At the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release. Verse 1. At the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release. And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Adonai's release. Verse 3. Of a foreigner thou mayest exact it again, but that which is thine with thy brother, thine hand shall release. Save when there shall be no poor among you, for the Adonai shall greatly bless thee in the land which the Adonai thy Elohim giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it. Only if thou carefully hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all these commandments which I command thee this day. For the Adonai thy Elohim blesseth thee as he promised thee, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow. And thou shalt reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee. And if there be among you a poor man of one of thy brethren within any of thy gates in thy land, which the Adonai thy Elohim giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thy heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother. But thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need and that which he wanted. Beware there be not a thought in thy wicked heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release is at hand, and thine eye be evil against thy poor brother, and thou givest him not. And he cry unto the Adonai against thee, and it be sin unto thee. Thou shalt surely give him, and thine heart shall not be grieved when thou givest unto him. Because that for this thing the Adonai thy Elohim shall bless thee in all thy works, and in all that thou puttest thine hand unto. Verse 11. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thy hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor, and to thy needy in thy land. Okay, I'm going to start with chapter 15, verse 1. At the end of every 7 years thou shalt make a release. And this is the manner of the release. Verse 2. And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release. Now, most brothers, or a lot of brothers and sisters, recognize that that's what we call today a sort of like a bankruptcy. But I prefer to call it a bankruptcy and a fresh start. Now, this does a couple of things. We, as a nation of people, do not like inflation and how we deal with each other, our artificial inflation. Hence, we don't charge interest for any loans when we loan to each other. And also what a bankruptcy does. Well, let me explain it to you. Let's say you have a vehicle, and this is what happens today, and you owe $13,000 on the vehicle, but the blue book value is only $9,000 or $10,000 on the vehicle. When you go to bankruptcy court, the judge will see that, and the judge will say, okay, you just owe $9,000 on the vehicle, or they may cut it down even further depending on the state that you're in. So it gets rid of that artificial inflation, okay, that came from the loan, okay. So that's also what that's one of the things that this release does. We are not fans of artificial inflation when it comes to each other. We just there are other things that are within the law that I'll talk about in other parts that we don't go for it, okay. But what this also does, and what the scripture, as you continue reading, really goes into with this too, is that this is a fresh start. You know, that's what it is. It's a fresh start. Now, what you all need to understand is that these are loans that are based on a brother's income. Okay, so if a brother's making $30,000 a year, nobody's going to loan him $200,000. Okay, it's not going to happen, because these are loans. These are expected to be repaid, okay, before that 7th year. You know, if a brother's making $30,000 a year and it's the 6th year, okay, he's not going to get a loan for $30,000. Okay, because obviously the odds are pretty good he's not going to be able to pay that loan back. Okay, because these are small, short-term loans based on the person's, based on the person's income. Okay, like I said already, this is not the way that we raise large amounts of money. So you need to kind of get that out your head. There are other ways that we raise large amounts of money, and I'll talk about that in probably part 3, maybe part 4. But so get that out your head. This is not how we raise large amounts of money. Okay. Now, some of you may be saying, well, wait a minute. What happens if he does not repay the loan? Well, if the brother does not repay the loan, and like I said, there are payments made on this now. Okay. So let's say, you borrow $10,000. Okay, that money, brother don't wait until right before the end of that 7th year to walk in with that $10,000. That's not how this works. You borrow $10,000 the first year, and then you wait for 7 years and then walk in with that $10,000. That's not how this works. Payments are made on these loans. Okay, this is a real loan. Okay, where payments are expected to be made. All right, and if the payments are made, then whatever it is that is bought, then they come and take it from you. Okay. Stuff like this is for like consumer goods, washing machines, dryers, for the average brother or sister, refrigerators, consumer goods, things like that. Maybe a vehicle, and then of course, depending on the year. Like I said, if a brother's making $30,000 a year, nobody's going to loan him $30,000 if it's the 6th year. It ain't going to happen. Nobody, it's not, because they know the brother's not going to be able to repay it. But like I said, the loan is not repaid, then the brother has bad credit. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, you know, because, and I talked about this in part one, a lot of brothers and sisters have been told that, you know, gold and silver is going to rain down on their heads, you know. But this also means that brothers and sisters are going to have to get a job. I know I just threw some people off with that one too. Because, you know, a lot of brothers and sisters think that after that party in Jerusalem with the longest soul train line in history, it's just going to be, after it's done, after the partying is over, and gold and silver just going to be falling from the sky. Nah, homie. You're going to have to get a career, get a job, get some business about yourself. That's right. Maybe get a loan and make payments, just like you do today. Now I'm going to go to Proverbs, and Proverbs is real important. I'm going to go to Proverbs real quick. And it's real important because it reinforces a lot of our laws, statutes, commandments, and judgments, and it gives us a lot of like policies and things of that nature when it comes to the law. But of course, we know Proverbs chapter 6, and that's verse 1 through 5. My son, if thou be surety for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth, thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. Do this now, my son, to deliver thyself when thou art come into the hand of thy friend. Go humble thyself and make sure thy friend. Give not sleep to thine eyes, nor slumber to thine eyelids. Deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter, and as a bird from the hand of the fowler. And I go to Proverbs 11 and 15. He that is surety for a stranger shall smart for it, and he that hateth suretyship is sure. Now, going back to Deuteronomy 15. Deuteronomy 15. 1 through 11. Like I said, these loans have to be repaid. Now, let's say that something happens, you know, a brother can't repay that loan. Well, that's when he has bad credit, okay, at the end of that 7th year. And of course, his loans are released, okay. He has a fresh start. Hey, no problem. You know, fantastic, great. But guess what? If he has bad credit, he needs a cosigner. That's why I just read those scriptures. Now, here's the thing about that. And this goes into what I said at the beginning of this video about how we provide opportunities, and how I just finished saying that brothers and sisters need to get some business about themselves. Now, if you got a brother and he has no business about himself, he's lazy, he don't want to get a job, he don't want to do anything productive, then that's not a brother that you co-sign for. Okay, basically, that's just it's not a smart thing to do. But if a brother has some business about himself, you know, something bad just happened to happen, and he wasn't able to repay the loan, then I don't see any issue with co-signing on a loan for that brother to get a fresh start. You know, I mean, he has no more debt, and that's the important thing there. You know, I mean, you have no more debt. You know, a lot of people wonder why after you file for bankruptcy, you'll start getting letters in the mail from car dealers telling you, hey, come buy a car from us. And you're like, wait a minute, I just filed bankruptcy. Why am I getting these letters in the mail? Because you have no more debt, and they know it. You know, and it's the same thing in this situation. That brother has no more debt. His debt is gone. You know, that's why I said as long as he has a job, you know, he's productive, you know, co-sign for the brother, you know. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to verse 3. And it says, of a foreigner thou mayest exact it again, but that which is thine with thy brother thine hand shall release. Now, what that means is, now a foreigner, it's sort of like, and this just happened a few years ago, you know, when your credit report when stuff used to drop off. Well, it ain't dropping off for the foreigner. It never goes away. The foreigner does not get the fresh start. Doesn't happen. The foreigner has to continue to pay those debts until they get paid off. It's just that simple. He doesn't get a fresh start. They don't get it. Nope. But like I said, when it comes to us, we don't play games with that inflation and things like that. But we'll do it with the foreigner all day long. Verse 4. And this is when things get a little interesting. It says, say when there shall be no poor among you, for the Adonai shall greatly bless thee in the land which the Adonai the Elohim giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it. Now, it goes on in 5, 6 to talk about just keeping the commandments and doing what we're supposed to do. And then in verse 7 it says, if there be among you a poor man of one of thy brethren within any of thy gates in the land which the Adonai thy Elohim giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thine heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother. But thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need in that which he wanted. Beware that there be not a thought in thy wicked heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release is at hand, and thine eye be evil against thy poor brother. You see, it's still talking about that poor brother. That's why I'm going to keep reading down to verse 11. And thou givest him not, and he cry unto the Adonai against thee, and it be sin unto thee. Thou shalt surely give him, and thine heart shall not be grieved when thou givest unto him, because that for this thing the Adonai thy Elohim shall bless thee in all thy works, and in all that thou puttest thine hand unto. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thy hand wide unto thy brother. And this is verse 11, the last verse. I'm going to read it again. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thine hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor, to thy needy in thy land. Now I'm going to point something out. In verse 4, it says, say when there shall be no poor among you, for the Adonai shall greatly bless thee in the land which the Adonai thy Elohim giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it. And read down from verse 11, it says, for the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thy hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor, and to thy needy in thy land. Well, this goes back to what I just finished talking about. It's not contradicting itself. What it's saying is, once that year of release takes place, and basically that brother couldn't repay his debt, so he's poor, right? And he had bad credit, is what's going on too. But let's say he's poor and he has bad credit. Still loan to that brother. If he's a working brother, if he has business about himself, if he just happened to, something just happened to happen to the brother, you still loan to this brother, okay? We do not stop loaning to him, and that's what makes our system so wonderful. You know, in order to get a fresh start in the system that we live in now, and any other system in the world, you have to actually file for this. You know, the debts actually roll over like we would do to strangers or the foreigners. It's like that now with everyone. You know, in our system, we get a fresh start every 7th year, after every 7th year. I mean, that's an amazing thing. Like I said, it forces us to make these small income-based loans, okay? And having that fresh start allows us to bring the poor in so that they have a fresh start too. So that way, that's why it's not contradicting itself right here. It's just telling you that no matter what, the poor will always have an opportunity to succeed and to be successful within our system. Okay, that's all it's saying. They're always going to have that opportunity, you know, to come out of being poor, to make that money. You know, that every 7th year that opportunity is there. They can get that cosigner. You know, they can keep that job. They can get that new job. They always have an opportunity to be successful. No other system is like that on the planet. You know, as a matter of fact, like I said, the system that we have now is really meant to hold you down and really meant to hold you back and not take full advantage of a person's potential. You know, but our system does. You know, it's built to take full advantage of an individual's potential. There's nothing like it on the planet, and it's actually wonderful. It's a wonderful system. So, I want to do a little recap real quick about what I just finished talking about. The first thing I want to say is that we have loans and payments have to be made on those loans. You know, nobody's paying off the loan, waiting until the 7th year and gonna walk in with the money that they borrowed. It don't work like that. You have to make payments. Okay, that way you have good credit. And if the loans aren't repaid, then brother has bad credit. Also, remember that we have a fresh start every 7 years, and the brother with bad credit will need a cosigner after that 7th year. And you know, it's that cosigner. You know, again, that brother needs to show some incentive that, you know, he's a productive brother. You know, in order to have that cosigner. The other thing is that, you know, we could roll the loan over on the foreigners, and that's very, very, very important. Okay, so again, this is not the way that we raise large amounts of money. It's just not. There are other ways that we raise large amounts of money that involve us not having to deal with inflation or artificial inflation. What I also want to do is go ahead and read some more scriptures that deal with our economic system, and also pledges, because we do have pledges as well. And this is real interesting too, because a lot of people don't know that we have pledges. And I'm going to start with Exodus 22 and verse 26. If thou take at all thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him by that the sun goeth down. Verse 27, for that is his covering only, it is his raiment for his skin, wherein shall he sleep? And it shall come to pass when he crieth unto me that I will hear, for I am gracious. And Deuteronomy 24 and verse 6. No man shall take the nether or the upper millstone to pledge, for he taketh a man's life to pledge. That means you can't, and I'm going to talk about the raiment in a minute, but in a second. But that means you can't take that man's business or the way that he makes his money. You know, if a brother cuts lawns, you can't take his lawnmower. You know, if a brother is a mechanic and that's his business, you can't take his tools to pledge. You have to give them back to him. You know, Deuteronomy 24 and 10 through 13. When thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. Thou shalt stand abroad, and the man to whom thou dost lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto thee. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. In any case, thou shalt deliver the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may sleep in his own raiment and bless thee. And it shall be righteous unto thee before the Adonai thy Elohim. Now, the key with these pledges is that means that brother can't sell it. It's almost like what we call today a title loan. You know, when you put your car, you go in and you sign your car over, but you get to still drive it, but you can't sell it to anybody else, because the actual people who have the loan actually are the owners of the car. They are letting you use it. Well, that's the same thing with this. Somebody that owns that brother clothes, they're just letting them wear it. Somebody that owns that lawnmower, in this case, the nether or the upper millstone, they're just letting that brother use it. Okay, I just want to make that clear too. So again, I want y'all to understand and begin to understand that what our system does is it provides opportunities for success. Okay, that's what it does. You know, and it does it better than any other system in the world, especially the fact that we have a fresh start every 7th year. That we are required, as the law says, to continue to help the poor to succeed and to have success. And it's designed for us to be able to do that also. So this is part 2, and I'm going to go into part 3 and part 4 and talk about the Jubilee and how we raise large amounts of money, because this is not how we raise large amounts of money, like I've already said. So I hope you all got something out of this. I hope you all begin to understand that our system is about opportunities for success, opportunities for being profitable, and Shalom.